Welcome back to Igniting Young Minds, Developing Critical Thinking Skills in the Primary Classroom. This video was supposed to come out a few weeks ago, but the Christmas season got a hold of me, and we are now January 4th. We will be starting the rest of the video series on critical thinking in the primary classroom. So welcome. Today, we are going to talk about observation as a skill. So why does observation matter? In the beginning, we talked about open-mindedness and self-regulation. Those were the first two videos. If you want more information, you can go back and look at that on my page. But open-mindedness is being open-minded enough to receive new information that can change your mind, give you learning, developing your ideas, processing. Self-regulation is regulating your emotions that lead to behavior. So it's emotional and behavioral regulation that allows for learning to happen. So now we move to observation, which observation is the beginning of learning, because observation is the receiving of new information. When children are born, they use their eyes, their ears, their touch, their smell, their taste to experience the world. This is how they begin learning. When a child wants to walk, they look and they see, oh, other people are walking. What are they doing? How are they doing it? And they imitate that practice. That is how they learn to walk. And so in all things, we need to understand that children, and especially young learners, need opportunities to observe and experience the world in order to build that learning. So this is so important because observation as a skill in terms of experiencing through all of your senses, smelling, tasting, hearing, touching, and seeing, builds context. If you have never seen anything or heard it or experienced it in any kind of way, it is so much more difficult to understand that thing. So in early childhood education and in primary schools, we need to be giving our students as many opportunities to experience what we're talking about. If you want your kids to learn about space, do a night of looking at the stars. If you want to have your kids learning about agriculture, let them plant some different plants and see how they grow. Let them germinate some seeds. This is all part of the observing process. If you tell a child, oh, this is what happens when a seed germinates, wouldn't it be much more effective if they were able to see that seed actually germinate and pop a leaf out from the shell of the seed? This is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about observation. And one argument for not having too much observation in the classroom is that there's so much curriculum to get through, and allowing experiential learning takes so much more time. But what I want to say is that if you allow your students to observe, first, they are training their brains, number one, to be curious, number two, to be patient, and number three, to allow the learning to sink in so that it's retained. If you can teach them this process, then you are allowing them to practice the muscle memory of learning. And so then when you come to more and more different topics, they are able to put those practices into their own life in a self-motivated, intrinsic way, which is going to build them up as greater and greater students with more and more success. So it is so important that you are not just rushing the learning process by standing in front of the classroom and giving information and telling kids, write what I write on the board. That is not the best practice in terms of allowing kids to engage with the learning, engage with all that you have to offer them as teachers. So the next thing I want to talk about is all the different aspects of what observation looks like in the classroom. So, for example, you want to teach, um, let's say, space, and then you allow them to have that night out in the stars and look at the moon and the stars. You can look at sunrise, sunset, and you can talk about all the things that exist beyond the clouds that they see in the sky. And so then you add music, and music is auditory, so you're allowing them to sing about what they've learned, which allows them to remember it more because you're adding another component of experience to the learning. So they've seen different celestial bodies, they're singing about the different celestial bodies. You can do something about feeling. What does it feel like when you look at the stars? How do you feel in your body? Do you feel big? Do you feel small? Do you feel like you can hold the universe in your hands, or do you feel like you want to run away and hide? Exploring all of these different things can help people, students, understand the expansiveness of the universe and their own place in it. These are all different topics that you can explore through observation. You can do all kinds of mindfulness activities. You could have the students close their eyes and listen to hear what sounds they hear. Maybe they will hear vehicles, honking of horns, or engines roaring. Maybe they will hear birds, or maybe somebody is singing on the street, or there's some music playing, or somebody's playing drums. And you can listen to those sounds and describe those sounds in the classroom as a form of observing your community and finding out what are the different aspects of the community that you live in. You can do mindfulness that allows them to understand their own body. When they're breathing, what parts of the body are they using? What parts of the body go in and out? Where does the air, what are the areas where the air can go in and out? The mouth and the nose. And how is it different if you breathe through the nose and breathe through the mouth? And teach kids really to be thoughtful about their bodies and their ability to use their bodies to experience life. Observation doesn't require a lot of resources or expensive equipment or anything, because it's all about allowing your child, your students, to experience the learning on their own, to build context, to have a place to put the information that you want to give them. So, observational math and reading, you have manipulatives that you can use. For math, you have all kinds of counters that you can get from your environment, stones, buttons, pins, any kind of small pieces of some toys, anything that they can count and that they can put in groups, that they can sort, that they can make patterns with, beads, little pieces of Play-Doh that you can make in different colors. Homemade Play-Doh, there's a very easy recipe. There's so many things that we can use to allow our students to experience rather than just being told or shown what to do exactly. So something that you just really need to keep in mind with our students is the more they experience, the more you're developing their cognitive processes so that their learning has a stronger and stronger foundation. When you allow these kinds of activities in the classroom, you are building their cognitive processing skills. They are learning what we're going to talk about later, the forerunner of analysis and logic and problem solving and communication. All of these things start off with observing the world around you and becoming someone who is curious, inquisitive, asking questions, and just totally interested in the world around them. The more interested the students are, the more they're going to engage with whatever you have to offer them as the teacher. So something that you can do this week. I'm assuming that most teachers, you're going back to school this week, and it would be great to be able to just take a reflection time with your students, allowing them enough time to think about their own learning and what they want to get out of it. And think of a topic that you want to teach if you're a math teacher or a reading teacher or if you're a classroom teacher. Think of one thing that you can really allow your students to have experience with. And when you allow them that time, you give them the time to really immerse themselves in a certain project or something. Watch the engagement, see how focused they are, and do some assessment about how the learning from that activity compares to when you're just telling them something or they're copying something from the board. Do some comparative research in your classroom to really understand what are the best methods for really helping your kids move forward. So I'm so happy that you guys joined. If you have any questions or comments, or if you are interested in digging deeper, I have a whole course that goes into each of these topics in depth, explaining the deep importance of how this works together in the framework that I've developed that really builds the foundation of critical thinking throughout your students' lives. So if you're interested in more, please just give me a message on Facebook Messenger, or you can join my WhatsApp group, or you can just ask in the comments, leave a comment, a question, and I will be sure to get back to you. So thanks for joining, and I hope to see you again in the future. Take care. Bye.